As of this recording, the Tesla stock is currently at about 7% in the positive, in the green, because they just delivered the Q1 numbers and they were way better than expected. Though the current market situation is obviously more negative than positive, and therefore the 15 or 14% pre-market that Tesla did the night before is evaporated, and it looks like it goes even more down. We were at 514 and now somewhere about 486. But let's dive into the numbers and the more important part, what comes next. Welcome back, or welcome for the very first time to one of my Tesla videos, and we are back to the action. There is this breaking news, but before we dive into the cake, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell and like for this algorithm to support the channel. So if you're looking on the website of Tesla and going into the investor section, this is something that you can always look up. They always release there the newest news. Obviously, also you can research there the latest presentations for investors, like the quarter earnings and so on. So very good tip to look for the material that you might need for your research. However, you know, this is brand new, and we produce approximately 15,390 Model S and X and Model 3 and Y 87,282, in total 102,672 vehicles produced. And actually this is not that far away from our estimate that we did a couple of days or weeks ago in my other video, where we said maybe we are somewhere around 109,000 vehicles. So but the deliveries obviously take always a little bit time. Sometimes it depends that, you know, deliveries are getting scheduled after the production is up and running, or we see that lots and lots of vehicles getting overseas delivered, so they're at least 1 month in a container shipping from the US to other parts of the world, and therefore, you know, we see about 10-15% decline from the production to the delivery numbers. But also the deliveries were at 88,400, which is a great number and better than almost all the estimates that were around 79,000. And this is always the positive, and this is why stocks are moving so fast. If we over deliver what the market thinks, and if you under deliver, obviously your stock was going to crash. Now, subject to lease accounting, this means how many percentage of this is actually lease and not cash buyers. So 7% is somewhere in the range that recently Tesla had. So let's go quickly to the text, because this is quite important. Model Y production started in January and deliveries began in March. Now this is significantly better than scheduled, and this is actually very, very good, and shows again how fast Tesla actually is and can bring a prototype to a market in a very unprecedented fast speed. Additionally, our Shanghai factory continued to achieve record levels of production despite significant setbacks. This, what they meant is, obviously also they had to close the Shanghai factory for a couple of days. I think it was in total 10-14 days that they had to close the facility of the current crisis going on. Our net income and cash flow results will be announced along with the rest of our financial performance when we announce Q1 earnings. This will be, by the way, on the 22nd of April, so around 18 days, 19 days, whenever you watch this video. Our delivery count should be viewed slightly conservative, as we only count cars delivered as transferred to customers, and all paperwork is correct. Final numbers can vary by up to 0.5%. That's basically nothing. It's about 500 cars only. or more. Tesla vehicles deliveries represent only one measure on the company's financial performance and should not be relied on as indicator of quarterly financial results. Obviously, because there's much more revenue through other parts of the company. We have the solar business, the energy business, so if this goes well as well, and we have seen significant growth numbers there as well, now obviously everything will be slowing down, but before I think we can have a pretty good Q1, but this is another topic. I just saw another news that the discussions are going on. Tesla would need to make a profit of $160 million when to be included in the S&P 500, because then the total last 4 quarters would be positive, and this would be then the inclusion in the S&P 500, which should push the stock, because trackers and indexes need to include the Tesla stock as well. But this is just on the financial side. On the Q1, I will definitely make another technical and financial video on that soon before the numbers. But this all is super great. I mean, this is showing that China was such a good idea and such a good move, because it will give us some buffer and also some options. If something happened to US, then we have China, and China is growing. We have seen phase 2 of the Gigafactory in Shanghai is being built. This means that the capacity is going strong over there. Demand is also going to be strong in China and Asia. And I also believe that from there, maybe they will distribute into other countries also soon. And the Model Y will be there produced as well. So many things coming out of Far East for Tesla. The only thing that I didn't like about the numbers and how they presented, they actually don't told us how many Model 3s and Model Y they had produced and delivered. I would love to see the numbers of the Model Y, how many got produced, how many got delivered. We see more and more of these videos in the internet coming up, what people are getting when they got delivered the Model Y. Very exciting, because now the more expensive versions are getting delivered. So this means that this is very good for the financial part for Tesla, obviously, because this subsidize a little bit the lower range of Model 3. However, one more thing I have for you guys. And that is Mr. Jim Chanos is back. The maybe biggest short seller of Tesla is back. He just came on CNBC and talked about the market, about his shorts. Obviously, I just remember like Shamath said that Jim Chanos is just going on CNBC when he makes money. Obviously, he's mostly short seller, so he makes maybe good money now in the bear market, and therefore he's coming back to CNBC. However, have a look what he says to his Tesla position.
And while the market rips up, the guy just bleeds money, and he's never on CNBC. And every time something works, he's there for 5 minutes.
The other is when a stock goes parabolic, like Tesla did over the winter.
Who?
Are you still short that? And how did that impact your thinking on your positioning?
So Tesla, and we told clients in January, February, that the 3-month period, sort of November, December, January, was one of the craziest periods I've ever seen in my 40 years on Wall Street. And if you remember, and I know Josh saw some of this stuff, and maybe some of your other panelists, retail for some reason came pouring into the market in individual names and individual stories in a way we haven't seen really since sort of January, February of 2000 at the end of the dot-com boom. And we saw the parabolas. We saw the Teslas, the Virgin Galactics, and others. And we saw it in the data of retail trading at E-Trade and options and Robinhood and so on and so forth. And I had not seen, that was the one thing that had been missing in this bull market in the 10 years, was just manic speculation by individuals. Well, sure enough, by January, February, we had it. And, we saw these stocks go parabolic. And if you're parabolic and you're short, obviously your position's getting much bigger. So in situations like that, if we like the name, like we like Tesla, we will have to cover some if it goes through our risk parameters, but then we will sell it even back down if we want to keep a maximum position. Again, one of the challenges of the short side is that you You get bigger when it goes against you, and you get smaller when it goes your way. We are still basically maximum short Tesla. It's still one of my favorite positions. Nothing's changed in my viewpoint here. This is a car company. It will lose money again this year.
So as you see, he don't reduce his Tesla position. It's still one of his favorite positions, too short. Obviously, I think as we're going into very hard and uncertain times, the whole market will go down. There's just this new economical data coming out of different kind of banks, investment banks and economic specialists that are showing us that the GDP of US can in the second quarter even go down by 35%, and even the next quarter after that could be negative. So with this 30% decline in the GDP of the US and still just 15% of our all-time highs at the stock market, I believe there's still room to go down. I'm very curious how this will affect Tesla, because Tesla is such a high flyer, and this high flyer growth stocks is very dangerous stocks on the stock market because they can be very volatile. However, you know, I'm definitely dedicated to Tesla. As you might know, I'm waiting to load up more Tesla stocks and can't wait. I will definitely know when this happens. So Jim Chanos, to conclude, is still back in the media. He went under for a couple of weeks and months, obviously, because, you know, from November until February, it was maybe one of his hardest times on the stock market when everything went up, and even Tesla got all-time highs. And you know, we will be soon back in these levels. Just have patience as a long-term investor, and stay tuned here and subscribe and like, and I see you tomorrow.